Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go. Not sure why it always cuts off my intro. The guys at Gerhardt Studios did a nice little Ballsy Uncut, like a splash page. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And it's not Gerhardt Studios' fault. It's this overpriced streaming service I use. I wonder if Netflix is tied into this. Ballsy here with a special Grey Cup edition of Ballsy Uncut, brought to you by Ward Tirecraft, 101 Dudney Avenue in Regina. I'm going to see those people Tuesday to put some brake pads, tires on my vehicle. If you like 10% off, go in and tell them at the 101 Dudney Avenue location with Michael Barth that Ballsy sent you. You'll get 10% off. They also have a location in Saskatoon. District Brewing also on board with their Super Squeeze Seltzer, Mango Lime, Passion Fruit Lime. Thanks to Tim, Joe, Hayden, and the gang over there, District Brewing. They're helping to sponsor. I'm doing a little private Grey Cup party tomorrow at Gerhardt Studios, so they're getting on board, helping me out with some of the beverages, as it were. So special Saturday edition. I can't reveal it yet, but I'm doing something else in my life, and it's tying me up right now. So once I get closer to revealing that, I will. I'm very excited about it. I've kind of changed my mindset. When things went, well, listen, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm still not happy that I'm not broadcasting CFL games. That's what I feel I was called to do. That's what I was put on this earth to do, to be a broadcaster of football and hockey. Fortunately, with access now, I get to do that with the Pats and the Thunder. But I'll work my whole life to be a professional, like in the pros. I got a couple of years at it, and now I'm here. So I'd like to eventually get back in, maybe. We'll see if it works. I'm not going to push the panic button. But at the start, I was like, look what happened to me. But now I'm kind of switching my mindset. Look what happened for me. So I got a few opportunities have popped up on the radar, and I'm delving into one of them, and I'm actually kind of excited about where it could go, and I'll let you know when I'm there. But it is going to affect this show in terms of when I do it. Now, you'll still get it in. It's still going to be 3 times a week. It'll still be in live in infamy on Ballsy Uncut on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram. By the way, go to YouTube and pound that subscribe button, and you will always be in the know when we have a new episode out. And I will be doing them live, obviously. They go live, and then they're taped, and they're in Spotify. And I'm going to update the Spotify, Apple, iHeart, wherever you get your podcast. I'm going to be updating and archiving the last 3 episodes after this one today. But yeah, things may be altered with regards to when I do them live. That's all. It's just the way that it's got to be. Okay, so yesterday, Mike Tyson fought Jake Paul. And let's say this. Mike Tyson performed better than Netflix. Okay, Netflix is going to broadcast a Kansas City Chief game on Christmas Day. Yeah, whatever. They couldn't even broadcast this exhibition match between the Paul kid and Mike Tyson. Millions couldn't stream it. I couldn't stream it. Crazy. Absolutely nuts. So Netflix better figure it out. I actually got more check this out. I actually got more reliability out of CTE ravaged Antonio Brown. I watched what he called CT ESPN. He was actually at AT&T Stadium, and he had his camera on the big screen there. And so when he found out that Netflix went down, he puts this up on the big screen, and he had like 6.7 million people when I was on watching the last 2 rounds of the fight. As for the fight, people are saying what a con job that was, a horrible fight. Okay, wait a minute. You got a YouTube sensation that does have knockout power, but doesn't really fight anybody. The guy's a joke, Jake Paul. Like, he's an athlete. I get that. And kudos to him for building his brand. But let's be honest, he's not a real boxer, okay? So you got not a real boxer against a 58-year-old guy, a fucking 58-year-old man. Went into the ring and took punches for, what is it, 7 rounds with a guy that is 31 years younger than him. I just put a post on my own Facebook page of a picture I have hanging on my wall, courtesy of my buddy Mark Johnston from Play 92 Radio in Regina. Mark Johnston and I boxed for charity. It was the third time. It was the fourth time I boxed for charity, and I hadn't boxed for years. But he saw me make a post in my Facebook memories and said, "I'd really like to do that. Would you like to get into the ring with me, Ballsy?" And I was 48 at the time when we started training, 49 when we boxed. He was 31, then was just flipping to 32. So about 18 years difference. And I had no desire, but Mark is a good community-minded guy. He wanted to do it, and I did it. And I didn't do it. Like, I did it well for a 49-year-old man, okay? But halfway through the fight, people thought Mark was trash-talking me. I got a couple of shots in on Mark, but early in the fight, he popped me in the face, and I saw stars. And I barely got back to the corner, and I was huffing and puffing because I train. I work out every day. I look pretty good for a now 52-year-old guy. I'm going to be proudly saying that. But I've always said it's pretty packaging. I've kind of got away because of my knees and everything, and just desire. Not a big cardio guy, and I barely made it through the fight. As I said, throughout the fight, towards the end, it was only 3 rounds. People thought Mark was jaw-jacking me. No, he was encouraging me, telling me, "Come on, Ballsy, you can do it. You can do it." And I think Jake Paul carried that fight to the end last night with Mike Tyson. But I was 49, 18 years older. Mike Tyson's 58, 31 years older. If you bought Netflix just to watch this fight and feel like you got ripped off, that's on you. If you thought you were tuning in to watch 1988 version of Mike Tyson, you're a bigger idiot than the guy running the production for Netflix. Like, come on. Kudos to Mike Tyson for getting in the ring. Kudos to Mike Tyson for making bank on this. He made millions, I'm assuming. Kudos to Jake Paul for making millions. Call it the biggest con in American sports, whatever you want. Those guys made money, and Mike Tyson went into the ring at 50 friggin' 8 years old. Sports is not a young man's game anymore. Not everybody can beat Tom Brady at 45 playing at the highest level. Very few. Like, in fact, he's a unicorn. Gordie Howe, maybe. Wayne Gretzky at 39, still the leading scorer of his team. Sidney Crosby at 37. But those are still relatively young guys. Old for sports, but kind of young guys. 58, boxing. And by the way, and I'm not comparing myself to Mike Tyson, but Mark and I had headgear on. This guy didn't have anything on. Crazy. Okay, I'm here to tee up Grey Cup 111. The first guest we got is Canadian Football Hall of Famer Chris Walby. I predicted a Rider 8 to 10 point victory over Winnipeg in the West Final. They laid an absolute egg. And so Chris told me to call him back, and we talked about that and tee up the Grey Cup, depending how it went. So that's what I did. And we will get to that. Also, before this is done, we're going to hear from Big Play VA, Vernon Adams. He's getting out of Dodge. He's going to be nowhere around the Grey Cup this weekend. He wants to get the hell out of Vancouver. He's done with that experience in Vancouver. We'll talk to him about that and what might be next for him, and some thoughts on the CFL awards. But up next, Chris Walby.
Well, you asked me to call you back, so I'm calling you back with my hat in my hand, even though I don't wear hats. I got one of my sponsors' hats here, Ward Tirecraft. I was right about one of the games. The Argos did win a close game, but I have to say, Chris, I was very disappointed in the Riders' performance. I had Kyrie Zaber on my post-game show, and he said, "You know what? Somebody's got to fight somebody. Somebody's got to hit somebody. Yeah. When you're going in to play the big brother, you got to punch somebody in the mouth." And the Riders didn't have an attitude, and they got out-coached, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know what? I was anticipating a much tighter game, a tougher game from both sides. But then again, I was disappointed, and also I mean, this is no dog on Corey Mace. I think he's going to be a great coach. But I don't know why they sat in zone coverage for so long. I mean, obviously, you're looking at, that Kenny Lawler just running through the zone 3 times. You got to mix it up. I think that they should have played a little bit more man-to-man, which Toronto does. Make that quarterback hold the football. And I think that might have been a difference in the game. But, you can't let a guy like Lawler go free.
Yeah.
It was, I'm happy for the Bombers. I mean, Zach had his best game of the year. I mean, obviously he wasn't touched at all. That D-line, I didn't see a lot of blitzes coming. I saw a very vanilla defense. And in a game like that, you don't save the tricks for the next game. You pull everything out of that sock and you throw it at them.
Yeah.
But, they'll learn. I think they're on the right path. They've got to make some changes. I read about Trevor Harris not knowing if, they're going to bring him back or anything. Can he win the big game? It seems like that's a cycle going through the CFL now with Cody saying he doesn't think Fajardo, doesn't think he'll be in Montreal.
Yeah.
Where's Vernon Adams going to end up? But, yeah, going back to the Saskatchewan game, it was just interesting to watch. And there was no changes. Usually adjustments are made on the fly.
Yeah.
That was something that surprised me.
What about going for it with 12:20 to go, third and 3 in your own territory? That's an eternity, Chris. You can't do that there.
No, especially when you're not really out of the game yet. I mean, that to me was a big turning point as well. If you don't make it, you're giving excellent field position. You give up 3 for sure.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you don't. I guess, I can see coaches trying to spark their club. Let's do something like they did with the fake punt. Okay, you try something new, you get a little bit of juice in your team, but after that, it just seemed like they just kind of went flat again.
Yeah.
And especially now, I've been on the sidelines like that when things don't work, and you can look around and you're going to get guys who go, "Let's go, come on, pick it up, whatever."
Yeah.
But I didn't see that anger.
No,
it was almost like, okay, we accept it. That's what it's going to be.
And that's exactly it. I wouldn't even label this a rivalry right now because it's so one-sided. The other one that got me, not to beat on the Riders, but the other one that got me is they did a great job. They pulled the fake kick, fake punt. They score a touchdown. Their defense holds. They get the ball back. Chris, they dress 2 American running backs. They have it 2nd and 2, and they throw a pass that goes incomplete, punt it to the Bombers, and then Kenny Lawler goes for a stroll through the park for another touchdown. Lights out, game's over. You got to run the ball twice. You got 2 American running backs. Why? Why if you're not going to run it there?
Well, you hit on the head. I mean, obviously Reichwell and then AJ Ouellette, the guy that said, I play for these times. He carried the ball. And this is another thing. You hit on 10 carries. What are you doing, man?
Yeah.
You're not that far behind to give it up. You got to stay with the game plan, stick with the game plan. And as you say, you got Armstead, who's a horse. He ran for 200-plus yards the one game for Saskatchewan. I don't think he even touched the ball. I don't remember him being in a game.
1 carry, I think he had.
And AJ with 10. That's 11 carries. I mean, I know the Bombers are a tough team to run against. But having said that, if it ain't broke, you don't got to fix it. But it's almost like straight away with that and try to live off the pass. The Bombers, as you know, are number 1 against the pass.
Yes.
And completion percentage. They're very tough. And the back end, I mean, we talk a lot about Tyrell Bonds and stuff, but how about Evan Holm? What a game that guy had. I mean, he was all over the field. He broke up pass after pass.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward, now I'm looking forward to the Grey Cup because now you got Chad Kelly with the broken ankle, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But he wasn't playing all that great in the beginning. He was 11, I think 50%, 2 interceptions. But he gets hot.
Arbuckle is a veteran guy who is a part of the Argos that handled the Bombers twice, and he got considerable playing time. That's why I think as we talk now, 10.5 points is too much.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I was blown away by that. And, I mean, is Chad Kelly that much of an influencer on that? I guess it is. I mean, when you think about it. But then when you look at the roster for the Argos, I mean, they got a great running back in Dean Carey. They have one of the top offensive lines. They have, in my opinion, and I know Bomber fans, they're going to love this, I think that Toronto has the best D-line in the CFL. I mean, obviously, characterized by the 12 sacks they had on Zach. Mm-hmm. And that is also attributed to they play a lot of man-to-man coverage. So they're making Zach hold that football. Can one guy make a difference? Absolutely. But I told this to you, and I think I told it to everybody else. Defense wins championships. offense can win a game. This will be a real. It should be a great game. I'm almost I was very disappointed with the game. Happy for the Bombers, baby, happy. But I was anticipating
a classic.
I think I called it a slobber knocker. I was looking more for a big smashing, and it just didn't seem like I got that. Maybe I was over pumped about the game, and I loved the rivalry, and I guess I was just kind of deflated a little bit.
Yeah. So I feel like you've won 3 Grey Cups. Did you lose 2 or 1? How many did you lose?
We lost the last 2.
Yeah.
We lost in 92.
And 93.
And 93 was when we lost Matt Dunnigan, and he had, he threw for 700 yards that one game. But we beat Edmonton up so bad in the 2 games in the regular season. And then we go into playoff. Matt, unfortunately gets hurt. And now there's another example of it. And we went with slinging Sammy Garza, Cal Murphy's son.
Yeah.
I think he's still a scout with the Dallas Cowboys right now, but we just didn't get it done. And Damon Allen was their quarterback, and I remember he took off around the corner. We lost contain.
Yeah.
And that was the hardest game to lose. It really was a tough game, man.
Yeah. So you could speak from that angle. You got Arbuckle coming in. Dinwiddie, his coach, had the same situation in 2007 against the Riders. But of course, Dinwiddie was a rookie, whereas Garza's a veteran. But do the Bombers have to win this game to be considered a dynasty? Like 3-2 is better than 2-3.
Oh, absolutely. You think about the 2 they lost, the last plays of the game, right? Obviously, Robbie Brown with the block kick for the Argos. But, I think, this is – people, I think, have to understand when you go to the game, it's great to get to. The final is the game. Then you get there and you're inundated with interviews. You've got mics sticking in your face. Every orifice in your body's got a mic. You're like, oh, man. And you almost have to check your bedroom to see if somebody's in the curtains. It's just that crazy, man. But then it slowly gets away. And I know a lot of guys say, and I heard it's a business trip. We're not here for socializing, but you can't stay in your hotel room for 5 days.
Yeah.
You got to get out and enjoy the festivities, maybe 2 days. And then starting today, Wednesday, it's bang, 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 bang. You get it ready, and you just, they'll have a curfew. Everybody does. And you get ready to play. And to answer your question, I fully expect the Bombers to win. I really do. They have created Wade Miller and Kyle Walters and Mike O'Shea have created a culture here. And I think Toronto's trying to do the same thing with Pinball Clemens and the guys they have in Ryan Dewey. I really like that organization now. I think they're doing a really good job. So I think it's going to be close, and I think they have to win. You don't want to lose 3 in a row. It just sucks. I remember we lost the last one in 93, and Miles Grell, we wouldn't even go out. He went and took a bottle of vodka to his room and just got pounded. He was upset, and I don't blame him because it's tough.
Yeah.
You go from training camp all the way there, and you end up on the wrong side of the scoreboard, and it hurts. And you look around that locker room and you go to the guys, we won't see half these guys again.
Well, you know what's crazy about this? Big guy? Is that the league, this is the least talented of the 5 Bomber teams that have gone, in my opinion, because of injuries and other things. Had to get rid of guys. If they get some guys back and the salary cap and Zach can stay around, this team could be like, what makes the rest of the West think they're going to beat the Bombers next year? This was a B-plus team. That's got to be the frustrating thing.
Well, and you look at the scouts, they got Danny Mack, who's assistant GM, and you wonder if they're going to pluck some guys.
Yeah.
So you can't talk to anybody right now because they're obviously in the Cup. But Danny Mack is to me, he's right up front in the front runners to get another job and move up the food chain, if you would. But they do such a good job of bringing in players who fit, and they just put them in where they got to put them in the puzzle, and they fit and they do well. You think about Ontario Wilson, Eric, Wheatfield. These guys are new guys, right? Brandon Alexander was out for a while. They had Nick Taylor going in. Nick Taylor from, 36 years old. They bring him back from, as he calls, the graveyard. And they bring character guys in who fit. And it doesn't matter, and I used to say that, crap. We had guys, when you're in a locker room of 40 guys, it's not all, me, I love you, kumbaya.
Yeah, exactly.
Those guys that always say, hey, piss off, get out of my, it's just,
yeah.
Because I remember Rod Hill used to be the worst, and I love Rod Hill. Don't get me wrong on this. But if our offense was stalling, he'd come down to the offensive side and say, "You guys suck. Pick it up. We're tired of carrying your ass."
Yeah.
And guys would get freaking angry at him, and we'd scrap before we went on the field. I'm serious. It was craziness. So
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I do too. All right, Walby, thanks for this, man. I appreciate that. You were right, I was wrong. We'll see who's what shakes down in the Grey Cup.
You betcha, Ballsy. Always a pleasure, brother. You have a good one.
It was great to catch up with Chris Walby. Did it earlier this week and stored that away until today. Walby 3-2 in the Grey Cup, 1-84 in Edmonton, 88 in Ottawa, 90 in Vancouver when the Bombers with Tom Burgess smoked the Edmonton Eskimos. Lost in 92 against Doug Flutie and the Calgary Stampeders in Toronto, and lost in 93 against Ron Lancaster and the Edmonton Eskimos in Calgary. Sam Garza was his quarterback, as you said. Sam Garza, better scout than he was a quarterback. And what would have happened had Dunnigan been healthy for that game? That would have been the key. As we talked there, the line was 10.5. I've been busy, not really locked in like totally to the world of sports, doing other things. Like I said, last I saw it was 9. It's still high. I think it's within a touchdown. I do think Winnipeg wins, but it'll be tight within a touchdown. It'd be great to see Nick Arbuckle win. I grew up not liking, I respect the Blue Bombers, but I grew up not liking them, obviously, being in Saskatchewan. So I'd love nothing more than to see the Bombers lose and not be considered a dynasty. But if they win, you got to consider them a dynasty. 3 out of 5 Grey Cups, and the other 2 were lost in the last second, but it's or last couple of plays. But it's funny how things can flip. If they lose this Grey Cup, then they've won 2 of 5 they've been in, and it doesn't look so good when you've lost 3 in a row. So interesting, but you still got to tip your cap to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Hey, while we got a sec here, let's talk about the awards that were handed out. First of all, I don't know what goes into deciding the TV. I don't know budgets. I don't know any of that, but I'm not sure why when you have 5 channels, you can't broadcast the awards on one of your channels. I'm talking TSN. Like, I've never figured this out. And I ask other personalities and whether they're just too close to the vest or they don't want to say. By the way, you like my Hammer Time Roofing shirt? Got my Hammer Time Roofing there, one of my sponsors in the post-game show. And for my shirts, which will be coming out soon, Hammer Time Roofing. By the way, I was going to have the shirts out this week, but I am putting on a Grey Cup party. So I got some expenses there, and I'll just push it back a little bit, maybe in time for Christmas. Like they're ready to go. You just got to have cash to pay for them. So I'm just getting that all lined up right now. But Hammer Time Roofing is going to be part of the sponsorship for my shirts. Anyway, where was I going with this? Lost my train of thought so early on a Saturday morning. What was I talking about? Help me out, folks. What was I talking about? I just had an old man blank, old Mike Tyson blank there. Anyway, the awards. So I've asked the other TSN guys, and they don't really tell. They say they try to fight the good fight, but that's all they'll say. Like, I don't understand when you spend 40, 50 million for TV rights, you're the main and only real national broadcast. Well, you are the only national broadcaster. Why we cannot watch the awards? I can't figure that out. Can somebody help me out? Do we care about the product? Because people won't care about the product unless you care about the product. Now to the awards. Yeah, Brady Oliveira had a good year, but not as good as last year. And he didn't win the most outstanding Canadian last year, or most outstanding player last year, but he gets it this year when he didn't score his first touchdown until like week 13. He finished with 4 touchdowns. He's a great player, and I'm happy that a Canadian was recognized just the 4th time ever as the most outstanding player. He also got the most outstanding Canadian, but I don't know that he was the most outstanding player. If you were going between Bo Levi Mitchell and Brady Oliveira, I don't care. This argument always comes up, and I've said it. Don't vote the award till the end of the year then. Don't pick it till the end of the playoffs, till everything's done, till the Grey Cup is handed out, then hand out the awards, include the playoffs. Because don't give me the argument, well, Bo's team didn't make the playoffs. Well, Bo Levi Mitchell can't tackle. Bo Levi Mitchell's not in charge of his receivers dropping passes. Dude threw for well over 5,000 yards, 32 touchdowns, 18 interceptions. He was the most outstanding player Is he the most valuable player? You could make a case for that too. But he was the most outstanding player. But Brady gets it. Is that a vote from last year? We gave it to Kelly, so this year we'll give it to you. So Brady gets those. Roland Milligan was named the most outstanding defensive player. Kudos to him. Rookie of the year, Nick Anderson. I didn't really have of Edmonton. I really didn't. Janarian Grant should have been the special teams player of the year. Being a punt returner is a lot. Like, I'm not trying to minimize being a field goal kicker. Sean White is an excellent field goal kicker. Half of his games are indoors if they keep the roof shut. So you got to consider that. Janarian Grant is still playing. That's what I'm saying. Pick the awards after the season. Janarian Grant is still playing. Sean White missed a convert and a field goal in the playoffs when his team needed to win. I don't care if it was windy. He missed. Janarian Grant returned a punt return for a touchdown that stood as a key play in beating Montreal. Janarian Grant is the special teams player of the year in the CFL. I don't care. Not Sean White, Janarian Grant. And listen, I would have loved to have seen Corey Mace get it as the coach of the year. He walked into a 5-alarm fire and did a great job, even putting out blazes during the year that flared up, if you want to use that analogy. Got his team a home playoff game. They didn't show up in the Western Final, but I think he did a pretty good job. Yes, you could say it was a 500 season, but he got them to the playoffs. He got them off to a hot start. He's starting to change the culture here. So I could make a case for Corey Mace, but I'm okay with them giving Jason Moss the coach of the year. Yes, he coached the team in the East. The East was actually better than the West for the most part this year, or at least comparable, so you can't say it was an easier division. It's a lot harder to be the hunted than the hunter. It really is. Once you talk to people, yes, it's hard to win a championship. It's harder to stay at the top, and they were at the top for most of the year. Well, for the whole year, all the way through. Their first place and top of the food chain was never threatened from pillar to post, and lost a close East final where they fumbled 4 times in the score zone. So, and I know the playoffs don't matter. Once again, they should. I'm okay with Jason Moss winning coach of the year. Kudos to Jason. I think it's maybe harder. But I will say this. Ryan Hunter of the Toronto Argonauts, who played left guard and left tackle on a very good team that was, I think, the second highest scoring offense in the league. Kudos to him. He is deserving of the Offensive Lineman of the Year award. Nothing against Ryan. Nothing against any of these athletes or coaches. Okay, they're professionals. Sorry, guys. I got up and I'm doing the show early. Not used to doing a show this early. Did it for most of my life doing a morning show, and got to knock the cobwebs out. Anyway. He's deserving of the Offensive Lineman of the Year. But the Offensive Lineman of the Year is Logan Ferland. He played left tackle, he played center, he played right tackle, and he played right guard. Last year, he played left guard and left tackle and right tackle and center. The dude has played, but this year he played 4 of the 5 offensive line positions. Logan Ferland was the Riders' offensive MVP every day of the week and twice on Sunday. And I don't care what Corey Mace did. I don't care what Roland Milligan Jr. did. I don't care what Trevor Harris did. If Logan Ferland is not playing for the Riders and is healthy for every game and the Swiss Army knife on the offensive line, the Riders don't make the playoffs. And then we're talking about more firings. I'm serious. And not the coach. Logan Ferland is the Offensive Lineman of the Year in the CFL every day of the week and twice on Sunday. You want to make a case for Ryan Hunter? Fine. And he's a deserving recipient. I'm not saying that. Just because I say that about Logan doesn't mean that he isn't deserving. But I saw the vote total. Did you see the vote total? Thank God I don't vote so I can wipe my hands of this bullshit. I know some of the voters, and what are you smoking? I'm a member of the Football Reporters of Canada, pay my dues, but I don't get a vote on this stuff. No ballots come my way. That's okay. It's not woe is me. Some of this voting is bullshit. How the hell is Ryan Hunter double the votes of Logan Ferland? And that's not sour grapes. I don't know Ryan Hunter from a hole in the ground. I said he's a deserving recipient, but Logan Ferland played 4 of the 5 positions on the offensive line, played every game and got his team to the playoffs. He played center, which is the quarterback of the offensive line. It sets protections. I don't think the average football fan knows how hard that is. He plays the left side of the offensive line. Imagine this. You're a right-handed guy and you do everything right-handed, and then just in the spur of the moment they say, okay, now you got to do everything the opposite way. Oh, and by the way, you have, so Ballsy, you're going to write with your right hand, okay? That's what you do your whole life. And now you got to write with your left hand like that. Oh, and by the way, a 300-pound student's going to come rushing at you while you write with your left hand. Okay? And you can't let him get so you got to write with your left hand, and you can't let him get the apple from the teacher's desk. Not that they do that anymore, but you can't let him get to the teacher's desk, and you got to do everything with your left hand and write the paper. And he finishes over, he got twice as few votes as Ryan Hunter. Wow. I'm speechless. I don't know why there isn't more of an outrage there. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. And that is a bunch of people that have never coached, played, or know a fucking thing about football or the offensive line. I'm sorry. Some of these, there's a lot of guys I respect in my job just because it's not easy to write. It's not easy to write negative things and face people. It's not easy to turn on a microphone and talk. But a lot of these guys are dweebs that have never fucking played a game of football in their life. Don't know a left tackle from a right tackle except that he lines up on the left or the right side. They can talk in circles, but they have no fucking clue. No clue. Zero clue. Zero clue. 40-16 in the votes. Are you drunk? Like, what are you guys smoking? Stupid. Just because a guy's team gets to the playoffs doesn't mean he's the most outstanding player. When a dude throws for over 5,000 yards, 32 touchdowns and 18 interceptions. His defensive secondary was brutal for most of the year till Chris Jones got there. I'm talking Bo Levi Mitchell. His receivers couldn't catch a bus, let alone a football at the start of the year. And you're going to give it to a guy who had fewer stats than he had last year when he was the runner-up for the most outstanding Canadian or outstanding player, and didn't score a touchdown till week 14 or whatever it was. It was later in the year and only finished with 4. And somehow he's the most outstanding player and outstanding Canadian. No, I'm sorry. The most outstanding Canadian in the West should have been Justin McInnes from the BC Lions. And that's not bomber hate. That's just a fact. And the most outstanding player should have been Bo Levi Mitchell. And the most outstanding offensive lineman should have been Logan Furland. But if you want to make a case for Ryan Hunter, fine, I'll buy it begrudgingly. But there's no way it should have been 40-16 in the votes. Just idiotic.
All right, we're here with Big Play VA. Vernon Adams Jr., you're in Vancouver as we talk right now, but you're getting the heck out of Dodge before the Grey Cup gets fired up, right?
Yes, man. Just can't be a part of all this stuff, man. I'm not playing in it, so it just hurts me, that we're not playing in it and we're here at home. So, but Congratulations to the teams, obviously, that made it.
Yeah. So, Vernon, is it like that all the time for you, or is it a little harder to take this year?
It's definitely the hardest this year. It's always like that. I never want to attend, the Grey Cup unless I'm doing some, media, some TSN stuff like Bo Levi Mitchell's been doing the last few years. If I'm doing something like that, I'll do it. But especially this year, just how everything unfolded and how the year went, and it being here in Vancouver, our hometown. So especially this year, I got to get out of here.
So you're not there, but will you watch the game, or you just totally erase it from your mind?
Yep, I'll watch the game for sure. My mom's flying in to where I live in Tacoma this weekend, and we'll watch it together.
Okay. So Vernon, talk to me about this. I've interviewed you a couple of times. You're always a delight to talk to, but I've never asked you this. You didn't grow up wanting to be a CFL player. No American does. Okay. That's not a slight. It's the truth. But just talk about how much you've come to appreciate and love this league, even though you put up with some bullshit here and there.
Yeah, man, you said it. You hit it right on the head. As Americans, we grow up, we're thinking NFL, NBA, MLB, and you don't really think too much about Canada. And not until I was told I was put on the BC Lions negotiation list back in 2012, I think. I'm 19 years old, and then I'm like, what is the BC Lions? Who is that? And then my coach started telling me, Bo Baldwin, who's now the quarterback coach in Calgary, he started telling me a little bit about it. And yeah, just like you said, man, I grew to love this game so much, man. I appreciate this game and all the opportunities I've gotten out here in Canada, man. So many lifelong friends I've met, just the fans, the support, everything out here, man. It's just, I love Canada, man. Like you said, I just came to appreciate it for sure, even more.
Yeah, so it's a mom and pop league, right? Like it's people play for money, but they're not getting overly rich. The fans you have a lot of interaction with the fans, and it's only a 9-team league, so you get to know everybody. How much of that intimacy do you really like?
I like it a lot. Like you said, it's a 9-team league, and a lot of guys do 1-year contracts, so they're bouncing around different places. I've been to about 4 different places, so I know a lot of the guys around the league. And it's just been it's been great, man. It's good to see how close guys are. Obviously, it's always a battle in between the whistles and things like that. But before or after the game, man, you can catch up with old teammates and things like that. So that's always great.
Vernon, how big is that chip on your shoulder? Not just this year, but just your whole career, man. Like your big play VA. When you get on the field, you make things happen, but it seems like you're always trying to have to prove yourself. And I know that's pro football. I get it. But how big is that chip on your shoulder?
Man, it's an extra large Doritos nacho chip on my shoulder. But it's awesome, man. I've always looked forward to the challenge and to things like that, man, because I've been doubted a lot, and I love coming to work every single day, putting in the work. I'm not the greatest out there, but I'm going to work my butt off. I'm going to be the first one in, last one out, bring energy and focus and, just experience to any team I get traded to. And just, I love it, man. I love everything about this CFL game.
So, Vernon, can you learn to be a leader, or is that just something you have?
I think as a quarterback, I've always been a natural leader, but I think you can also continue to learn and lead into different ways. I've learned from Kevin Glenn, Darian Durant, Trevor Harris, Jeremiah Masoli, all these different guys who led their teams. I've learned from them as well. So I've had my own leadership skills, but then took something from their toolbox as well and added it to mine. And so you can always learn to lead better. So, and I think I'm just getting better as I get older.
So how did you evolve as a leader this year? Because I think it struck a lot of people with how you led when all this stuff went down. It struck me on the sidelines of that game before the playoffs when you were the one pumping the team up on the sidelines and Nathan was in the background with his helmet on. It was really your team. But how did you evolve as a leader dealing with all this stuff this year?
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. I've matured as a leader. I've always been a leader. I've always done the mini camps on the off season with my receivers and took my guys out to eat or bought the team meals or drinks, whatever it is. I've always done the little things to have good chemistry and keep the team together. But this year, I was tested a lot more. I was injured, and then when I got healthy, I wasn't able to get my spot back. So, I had to find different ways to lead. Like the first week or so, when they told me I wasn't going to be able to be the starter, it was kind of hard for me. So I was kind of quiet and I was kind of just letting Nate do his thing. But Nate, he's a hell of a quarterback, hell of a dude, but he's just not the rowdy, the get the guys pumped up. He's not the talk about it. He's going to show you on the field, So when I seen that those first 2 weeks, I said, man, I have to bring some juice. We were on like a 4 or 5 game losing streak. And I was like, man, I need to bring some juice. I need to still be involved because this is my team at the end of the day. I put in the work. I did the training camp reps. I did it all. So, yeah, I'm matured that way, and just being a leader as a backup and still being that great energy and giving advice and being like an extra coach on the field, not overstepping my coaches, but knowing what they're going to say and just coaching guys up right away while we're on the field. Like, hey, if you need to get your depth on this route, you need to get your depth on this route. And if you need to do this, then we need to do this to make us a better team.
Hey, God's good though, man. I believe he's good, and everything, he's never late, and everything happens for a reason. So what's interesting is we started this interview talking about how, you've had to prove yourself, and even when you prove yourself, it's like you felt like maybe at times you hadn't done enough, other people's views, not your own. And now, ironically enough, you're probably going to be the hottest commodity in the off season. It's kind of ironic, isn't it?
Man, God is good all the time, just like you said. I knew, we got off to a hot start, man, our offense. We did a lot of good things. I was playing the best football of my career. And, I know, when this all unfolded, I was like, I'll still have a chance, because I know I'm getting better as I'm getting older, and I'm getting more wise and smarter and understanding the game more and more each year. You always learn something new each year. And so, man, God is good, and I know I'll be good. And just hopefully I go to a team. I just want to go to a team where I'm wanted, and that's it. That's what everybody wants to do. They want to go where they're wanted. Yeah,
how tough is that, man? Because it was your team, and it's not your fault, and I don't think it's Nathan's fault. And Rick Campbell, I heard quotes. You're saying you love Rick Campbell as a guy, but how tough is that not to be resentful towards the team and the guy that you say you like, Rick Campbell, when he has to tell you it's not your job?
Yeah, because honestly, I don't think it came from Rick Campbell, but that's what I honestly feel. Whether it did or not, that's up to everybody else to talk about. But I don't think it came from Rick Campbell, honestly. And so I've always respected him, man. He always told me things up front. Big roster moves. He called me before signing Nate, everything, and teams past, they've just done it and not even talk to me about it, not even give me a heads up. Not that I'm gonna okay it or not okay it, just at least just give me a heads up, so I'm not finding out on Twitter or whatever. And it's his job, just weirdness, and he's all man, and he's just a man. He's a great coach as well. So much respect, Rick.
And listen, I like you. I like Nate. You're both top shelf quarterbacks. You're both top shelf Class C guys. I tell everybody that. And you just mentioned about Nate. But do you think in hindsight, this move, whoever orchestrated, however it went down, do you think it really messed up your season? Because I think it did, even though it wasn't admitted within the locker room. It feels like it derailed the BC Lions season.
Yeah, and I think everyone in our locker room would tell you that as well. What we were, I felt, we were a better team getting Nathan for sure, because he's a top tier quarterback. He's an elite quarterback. And I know he's going to get back to doing what he was doing in 2022. He's going to get back to that next year once he has his full off season and full training camp with the guys. So I know he'll be back, but it's just, they just could have went about it a different way, man. We were doing good. We were in first place, and for a few weeks and it's just, they made a decision and things they rushed him into playing that Winnipeg week, and that's not this, it's a different Winnipeg team. That's when they started their hot streak. So that it is what it is. They got to live with that. They made those decisions, and that's what they got to live with.
Okay, so everybody would agree you were hard done by. So now you got a chance to go somewhere else. You kind of touched on it on Garbage Bag Day, but maybe you can elaborate or whatever. How much of a say are you going to get in where you go? A, and B, what are you looking for in the next stop here, Vernon?
Yeah. I told the guys, I said, or I told Neil and Rick Maiden, our GM and assistant GM, I said, I want you guys to keep me in the loop, and I want to see what the other teams are doing with their coaching staffs before you guys try to, shit me off or whatever. Because, the way you guys did me this year, the least y'all can do for me is give me some say and, where I would like to go. And honestly, it depends on coaching staffs. There's coaching staffs in a couple of teams, whatever they do there. And then it depends on other quarterbacks as well. If they want to move on or if they still come back or not. So all depends on that. I think there'll be a few teams that will be an option for me. And other than that, I know there's a lot of great coaches in this league. I would love the coaches in this league because they're great. So it really doesn't matter where I go, just as long as, like I said, the coaching staff is right and, we're building something special.
I'm not going to ask you for a Grey Cup prediction because really at the end of the day, you don't give a shit. You're going to watch the game. But I do want to comment from a guy who's scraped and clawed and done everything. And now you get to watch Nick Arbuckle, a guy that's a 6-year vet. He was supposed to be the next one. He's kind of fallen off the cliff. And now he gets a chance for ultimate redemption in the Grey Cup. If anybody has walked a mile in that guy's shoes, it's Vernon Adams Jr. Just your thoughts on Nick Arbuckle going up against it. And already there's no respect because as we talk right now, VA, they're a 10.5-point dog in the Grey Cup, which I think is too high.
Definitely, man, especially with a good team that Toronto has, that D-line, the backers they have, the chemistry on the back end, man, that defense is really good. They were like Winnipeg and Toronto, obviously Montreal and Sask too, but those are like the top defenses, But for a guy like Arbuckle, man, I texted him earlier this week. I told him, I said, man, what a story this is going to be for you, bro. Just like if you go out there and you win this Grey Cup, man, they written you off and you're going to come in and you're going to get this win. If you get that win, man, it's going to be a hell of a story, man. And so just proud of him. And I hope he does really well, like I said. So I don't know who's going to win, but I always cheer for good offense, especially when I'm not playing. I just want to see good offense and good quarterback play.
Yeah. Hey, you know what, man? You are a class act, and any team's going to be lucky to get you, and I'm sure they'll be lining up. I can't wait to see where you end up, and wherever it is, I'll be cheering for you. Thanks, Big Play.
Yes, sir, Ballsy. Appreciate you, man. Talk soon.
That is Big Play VA. Join me on Wednesday. So, yeah, as I said, I did those interviews Wednesday with Walby and Vernon Adams, and the line was 10.5. It's around 9 now, last I saw. Maybe it's a little shrunk a little bit as the week's gone on. But 9 was double digits was way too high. I do see Winnipeg winning by like 6 points, but I think it'll be close. Tell you what, though, what a storyline. You got the Bombers who had the Grey Cup basically stolen from them by Chad Kelly coming off the bench and the block by Robbie Smith on the game-winning field goal here in Regina in 2022. You got the Nick Arbuckle, who was left for dead. He was going to be the next one coming out of Calgary, bounce around Ottawa, Toronto, and such. He just told 3 Down Nation he was about a month away from just hanging him up. But no, he's back and he's there, and he's got a coach who has been in the same situation as him in 2007 as a quarterback in Ryan Dinwiddie. That's well documented. So we'll see what happens in the game on Sunday tomorrow. Grey Cup 111. And it'll be interesting to see where Vernon Adams Jr. lines up. I'm really I'm liking this kid a lot. He showed so much class. Like I said at the end of that interview, any team would be lucky to get him. Listen, I'm a Trevor Harris guy, and if the Riders bring back Trevor Harris on a team-friendly deal, because like I've said a couple of times, and I don't duck it. I tell Trevor to his face, Trevor has missed 2 seasons, good chunks of 2 seasons because of injuries. Now, they were freak injuries, but they're injuries. And Father Time beats everybody. So I don't care how good he takes care of his body, and he does. And he played well to the point where he was a West All-Star after missing 6 games. Now, part of that was because of his greatness, and part of that was because of, an injury to Vernon Adams Jr. Nathan Rourke wasn't very good. Zach Collaros wasn't very good. MBT was good, but not good, and he played on a crappy team. And that's what the prerequisite is for awards and winning awards and all that type of stuff. So part of was column A and column B that Trevor got the All-Star award. My point is this. Vernon Adams Jr. is a 32-year-old guy that has a big chip on his shoulder, and you saw flashes the last 2 years when he helped the Lions get to the playoffs, and this year when he did what he did, and had him in first place before he got injured and then got jerked around at the end. And yes, I know they lost the game here in Saskatchewan. He a couple of throws back, but what quarterback wouldn't? He's a 32-year-old classy leader that still has mobility and has the tools to win a Grey Cup. He's 7 years younger than Trevor Harris. If you're the Riders, do you cast all this plan A, Vernon Adams, and Trevor Harris plan B? What happens? The quarterback carousel is going to be very interesting in the off season. Also, before I go, I want to give a shout out and good luck to the University of Regina Rams. They host the Vanier Cup next year, like the city of Regina, but ironically, they go on a Cinderella run and they're taking on the Laval Rouge et Or. You can catch the game on CBC. I don't usually promote that network because I don't. Anyway, I don't promote that network because I don't like a lot of the crap they broadcast and a lot of the opinions they display. But I will say this. They're covering, kudos to them, at least on the internet. You can catch the game on cbc.ca, CBC Gem, probably YouTube it, and you can watch the Rams and the Laval Rouge et Or at 2 o'clock from Mosaic Stadium. If you're in Regina and surrounding area and want to see some great high-level football, go check it out at Mosaic Stadium. You don't often get to see these Eastern teams come out west and see the stars of tomorrow today, both on the Rams and the Laval Rouge et Or, which is it's like an Alabama-ish program coming from Eastern Canada, if you want to use the NCAA analogy, as many of us like to kind of compare to the U.S. So, it would be kind of like Vanderbilt, Rams, Vanderbilt against Alabama for a chance to go to the national championship. That's what it would be if you're a big NCAA college football fan. I want to thank Scott Schultz, who's been watching the show. I appreciate Schultz, the old 96er, Plaza of Honor inductee, and a Ryder Grey Cup winner. Also want to thank Leonard, I think it's Leonard Ferguson who's watching. I don't know where he's watching from. He said, good morning, Regina. So hi, Leonard. Appreciate you. This was a impromptu one. I usually do this on Friday, but I'm doing it on Saturday. Good luck to the Rams. Good luck. I just want a good Grey Cup game tomorrow, Bombers and the Argos. And we will be doing a live show from Gerhardt Studios with the studio audience. I kind of put together a private party, some friends and family and sponsors coming to Gerhardt Studios. We're going to watch the game and have a good time watching the best outdoor sporting event. Not outdoor, the best sporting event in Canada annually is the Grey Cup. It is a party. Can't wait to watch the game. Really hoping for a good game. Don't really have a rooting interest for either team. That's not true. I want Nick Arbuckle to do well, and I want Tanner Schmeckel of the University of Regina Rams, the Regina Thunder, and Riffle Royal grad. If I had to get a Bomber to win a Grey Cup, it would be him and Evan Holm, who's a great kid and a friend of my son's from the University of North Dakota, as you see the Fighting Hawks jersey over my shoulder. So lots of great storylines, even in a 9-team historic league there are. So watch the Grey Cup. It'll be worth it. Trust me, it's always a fun time. That'll do it for the show. Tomorrow, the Our Balls Are Bigger postgame show with myself, Ryan Hall, and Kyrie Zaber, and we will be taking calls for the first time ever. Your thoughts on the game, your thoughts on the Riders this season, and what you want to see next season. Want to thank Stats, Cocktails, and Dreams for helping me out tomorrow. District Brewing and my sponsors today for Ballsy Uncut, Gerhardt Studios. Also, AGT Foods Canada. Payson Insurance Services, Kevin Payson will be there tomorrow. He's a former Ram and Western Mustang and big in the insurance game. You need insurance. You need real estate and succession planning. You get Kevin Payson on it. Also, AGT Foods Canada and Murad Al-Khatib and his brother Omar and Ward Tire Craft, 101 Dudney Avenue. And Paul Waldo at Royal LePage getting the real estate game with the 3-time Grey Cup champ, 306-502-5355. He had to turn down my invitation to the party because he is actually going to be at the Grey Cup. Of course he's going to be. He is Mr. Grey Cup. 3-time winner, 2 with Montreal, 1 with the Riders. Just winners hang out in this show. Winners watch. Winners listen. Winners are guests for sure. All right. That will do it for my time. We'll talk to you tomorrow.